thing. All right. Welcome everybody to Business Geeks Podcast. I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo, and today we are going to talk about how to go about getting more speaking gigs. My two co-hosts over here, and I say co-host this time, not guest co-host, because I'm getting better at this. Changing my vocabulary up. And so I'm joined by Jennifer Crawford of Sparent.co. What's up, Jennifer? How are you feeling tonight?
Hey, Joe. Hey, everybody. I have to apologize right off the bat because it is rainy and miserable where I live, and I look like a chia pet because I have curly hair. And if it wasn't for these headphones, my hair is literally like out to here. Chia. So anyway, I just want to apologize because it's just doing its own thing. It's going to be the fourth character on our podcast today. My poofy hair.
No one's judging you on that.
I'm judging myself.
Which is funny because I was thinking, wow, I love your hair today, Jennifer.
Oh, Sam, you're the best. You're so nice to me all the time. I don't deserve you.
And our other co-host, Samantha Riley, down at like towards the bottom of the earth, where she's broadcasting from, right?
The bottom of the screen and the bottom of the earth, down under. Yes.
Yeah, but like Adelaide is like at the close to the bottom. Like you can probably throw a football and hit Antarctica, right? Like you're not that far.
Absolutely, and they get some ridiculously cold Antarctic winds down here. Horrible. But anyway, yes, super great to be here with you both today.
Yay.
Oh, pleasure's all mine, and I apologize for not being able to join both of you last week. It was with the death in the family and just a lot. That night specifically was pretty difficult. So thank you for
no apologies needed.
Exactly, and we're so happy to have you and your beautiful energy back, Joe.
Oh well, thank you. It is much appreciated. So all right, so we're going to talk about the getting of the speaking gigs, and we have a lot of different both opinions and takes on this because all three of us have run conferences that have had speakers, and at the same time we've all been speakers. So Jen, you've spoken, right? Like you've never spoken at MapCon, so
it's not my thing. I mean, I do it. I just it's not a major thing on my bio yet. So.
Well, who would like to start out this week talking about, the foundation of getting more gigs?
Well, I can jump in first because I think, and we talked about this before we started recording, is that a lot of people come out of the gate knowing that they need more speaking gigs to build their brand, to get more gigs, to get in front of more people, to speak from, a one-to-many perspective. And that's great. But they don't necessarily have any speaking experience. So what they do is they go out looking for these gigs without really getting the foundations right. And one of those things that people do is look at training on how to speak rather than thinking, how am I going to set the foundations and build this business or build this brand. So I think that the very first thing that people should look at is creating their own opportunities. And Jennifer, we spoke about this last week.
We did.
In that rather than going out and trying to get your first speaking gig at some huge conference with, and asking for a $10,000 fee, that maybe starting off in running your own meetups or running your own conferences or workshops is the best place to start, because not only do you get the experience, but you also don't have to worry about anyone pointing the finger when you make mistakes or, do things that aren't quite right. And guess what? 100% it's going to happen. Like,
absolutely.
It's a new skill set, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you can't get a speaking gig, I mean, you can create your own. It's not hard. Meetup is $12 a month or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can start a meetup and speak at your own meetups. You can also book other speakers there. In terms of getting better, Sam, what do you think about Toastmasters? Do you have Toastmasters? You must.
Yeah, we have
right?
Toastmasters. I've never done it. I know a lot of people that do it. I think that any opportunity where you can get in front of a group of people is not a wasted opportunity. So I think that Toastmasters is a great place to hone your skills in a setting where everyone else is at the same level as you, or everyone's starting out, so you don't have to worry about the judgment as much.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. And I had a public speaking phobia. It was a real issue of mine, so it's probably why still today I don't really seek it out heavily, although I've come a long way. And the one thing that helped me so much was actually getting into improv, taking improv classes. And now I've been in an improv troupe for about 10 years. And it sounds goofy and silly, but it really got me over like stage fright and got me over that fear of looking or sounding foolish in front of strangers, because that's just kind of par for the course. And you do it with other people and you're having fun. And then once you've made a fool out of yourself a number of times on stage in front of people, then getting up and talking with regard to your business is much easier. So I highly recommend somebody trying out improv.
And where can we find opportunities or find groups that do improv?
Yeah, I would just Google improv classes, improv workshops in your local city. Improv is pretty much everywhere. So you'll be able to find a beginners, 101 class and jump in, and you'll probably like it. There are a lot of foundational elements of improv that translate seamlessly to business.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
I've never done improv. Have you, Joe?
You'd be great at it.
No, I have not. It like goes everything against the logical brain part.
You would both be great. You would everyone. It's an art form for everybody. You would definitely be great.
Fun. Sounds super fun.
Sorry.
You go ahead,
on the Toastmaster side. Yeah, I've done Toastmasters a little bit, like a couple of sessions. I think it's great even if you're not trying to get speaking engagements for your business or anything like that. I think it's just great to have the opportunity to go and give a talk, organize a talk, give a talk, and get better at commanding like your meetings, or if you're climbing that corporate ladder, like wherever it is that you're at, like it's a great experience, especially if you don't have that experience at all. I think that it's an easy win.
Totally. So the second thing that I've put on my list for really getting your foundations right is to build relationships with people that run meetups. So I'm not talking about just reaching out to someone that you've never met before and saying, hey, I'd love to come speak at your event. Actually building relationships, starting to get to know people, starting to get to know their tribe, their audience, the kinds of things that they're looking for, so that when you go and, pitch that you want to speak, at least you know that you can add value because you've already built that relationship. And I'm sure that Joe and Jennifer, you'll go into that more later about understanding the value that you're bringing, not just going, hey, I'm so great, you need to have me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'll even expand on that a little bit, in that I think it's important that if you're looking to get more speaking gigs, is to really understand why. I mean, we all know it builds our influence, it, increases our visibility, but are you doing it to sell books? Are you doing it because you want to get more clients or more business? Or are you just trying to find opportunities? Exactly why are you speaking? So that you can be focused on that goal and select opportunities that align with that goal. And also, who is your audience? Like, who is it that you're connecting with? And as specific as you can be about that. For instance, I have a friend and her speaking career is going really well. And she specifically speaks to Latina women who are interested in financial well-being, financial wellness. That is her target audience. So she has no problem finding speaking gigs because there are events that are catering to that audience. She is now creating her own events and has no problem getting sponsors because, again, there are businesses that are targeting that specific audience and they want to get in front of that audience. So I think that's really important. It's like, know who you're, resonating with. And that way, I think it's an easier sell to a conference event as well. If you are really have something to say to a specific audience, you're going to be a good fit and probably somebody they're going to want at their event.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, meetups are another easy win there. And I think it's great because you're going to get into like, you are putting together a network of people that are like, because the more niche you are, the more easy it is for you to be like, okay, I found my people. We might not all agree on everything, but like we all agree that we are women and that we are Latina, and I can identify with that at the very least, at the bare minimum, when I go to that space. So yeah, I mean meetups I think are and they're plentiful, right? There's all kinds of meetups and they're all looking for that. I would even throw and lump into that like Rotary clubs because they're like literally meeting up like every week and they have to have a speaker at every single event. And I've spoken at a number of them and it's a great way to like cut your teeth and get those reps in to especially because it's such a diverse crowd. At Rotary clubs, there might be some young, and by young might be like still like 40, and some old that are like 80, 90 years old. So it's a diverse crowd to be able to like go in and have that opportunity to just speak to more than like two people in front of you, right? Like at least you're gonna get to speak to maybe 40, 50, 100 people as I have.
Yeah. Well, and I have a story, a real life situation, because you might be thinking, I just want to hit the ground running. I want to speak. I want to hit conferences. I want to hit big events. And you're thinking, oh, meetups, lame. No, totally not lame. And this is why. I run a meetup for podcasters in our area. I book speakers for that meetup. I booked a speaker. I got to see this person speak. Liked how she performed. I liked how the audience responded to her. I then booked her for DC Podfest. She then got seen by a larger conference producer who was at my conference, and she got booked for a national conference. This was all in less than a year. So don't think it's not, and don't think it's a slow stepping stone. It can actually propel your speaking career pretty quickly. Particularly if you're fostering those relationships, you're professional, you're showing up on time, you're promoting the event, no matter how small, you're helping that organizer in some way, then you're going to be memorable in that respect. I mean, I don't know. It's like when I work with speakers, it's how they interact with the event professionally sometimes is of greater importance than how they perform on the stage.
Could not agree more. That right there is a massive piece of gold, because as the event organizer, like there is so much work that goes into it. So if a speaker can interact with the audience and make it so that everyone that's at that event walks away going, wow, that was so good, then that's a massive win-win.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But they also got to make it easy for you as the organizer. Like I've had to deal with people that are like super prima donna and like everything's a problem, and they like I need this and I need that, and is this right? And like, come on, man, like or lady, like I'm dealing with like 25 of you or 30 of you, like I can't handhold. I was about to say handheld all of through that process, and it's so being able to be self-sufficient, being able to read all of the rules, being able to read the agreement that you are agreeing to, and then not later being like, oh well, I didn't know I was agreeing to that. Like, well, you didn't read. Like,
absolutely,
like open your eyes.
Be prepared, read the agreement, make sure you hand in your slides in advance by the date that the event organizer asks them for.
Yes,
follow up.
Yes. Sam, I think this is your wheelhouse entirely. I'd love for you to speak about how speakers should polish their personal brand online so that when people are considering you for a speaking gig, because they're going to check you out online before they ever make that final decision, how you can present well online. What are the things that you should be paying attention to? What do you think conference organizers and event organizers are looking for in their speakers when they check them out online?
Perfect. Now, this is exactly what you just said. You've got to understand that people are Googling you whether you like it or not. Like they are. You just have to understand that straight up. So make sure that your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, your website, all of them, the messaging matches. So we're not going to show up on Facebook the same way as LinkedIn. That's not what I'm saying. But make sure the messaging matches up. Make sure that the images and all of the different social media platforms and your website are the same so that people straight away recognize you, because they won't remember you if you've got different images everywhere. They want to see the same person and instantly go, oh, yep, that's that person. Make sure that you're using the same words. Make sure that you're, creating your content that is specifically related to your speaking topic, so that when people look you up, event organizers look you up, they absolutely know that you are the expert. They understand, they know and trust, have confidence that you know your topic and what you're talking about. If you're talking about, actually, it doesn't even matter what your topic is. If your news feed is full of your drunk Saturday night photos, like even though behind the scenes, that's what we might do, it doesn't matter. Just keep it private, and make sure that you are showing up in a professional way, so that as the event organizer, we absolutely have 100% trust that you're going to show up in the way that we want, for your audience.
Absolutely.
So professional images, messaging, content that relates to your topic. They're the three biggest things I can say.
Now, I want to get to Mary Sue's question, but first I have to rant a little bit, because it wouldn't be a Business Geeks podcast if I didn't rant about at least a few things. For the love of all things holy, please have a professional headshot done. Do not send me a selfie. It happens all the time. I got a selfie for an upcoming conference of mine, Podcast Inc. I got a selfie from one of the speakers, and this person is a professional speaker. Like,
really?
I mean, he's presented on the website, and I know this person. Great. Love the content. Love this person. I wouldn't have booked him otherwise, but really shocked not to have a professional headshot.
Wow.
I'm really shocked. It really stands out.
Great rant.
Yeah.
I mean,
why would you not?
It's
exactly.
so easy. Just book a session. Just do it.
Not that hard. Absolutely.
Well, you don't even have to book a session. Just take your iPhone out, put it in portrait mode, and give it to somebody else to take the picture.
Yeah, I mean,
and don't take it in your dirty bathroom or your dirty, bedroom or whatever.
It's better than nothing.
Right, exactly. Like, at least, and get a presentable and get someone else to just go snap, and then bam, you got yourself at least something better than I took a selfie and send it in. That's terrible.
I'll just rant about it. I'm not at the point where I'm like, no, you cannot speak at my conference unless you have a professional headshot. But there are conferences that do require it and will completely, if you send them a selfie in your application, they won't even consider you.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I can tell you why, and I've never had someone send me a selfie, so I'm really happy about this. But in all of my promotion of my events, I don't want to show someone that on my poster with a selfie, because that reflects back to me, and maybe people think my conference isn't respectable, or it's not going to have the caliber that people are expecting. So you absolutely have to have a professional headshot. And as Brent said, hashtag duck face. We do not want duck face on our no duck face.
Here we are in this conference world, in this event world. As an organizer, I want to make my speakers look good, but I also want my speakers to make me look good, make the conference look good. I want us to work for a mutual benefit. I want us to have a win-win situation. That selfie's not helping. Come on.
Exactly.
Okay, rant over. I want to address Mary Sue's question, because it's a good one.
So
it's a great one.
Yeah. How important is your following to be selected as a speaker? So social media following, how important is it to you, Joe?
How important is it?
You look at it when you book a speaker?
I would say not very, not super, because it depends on the person, right? Because not just because you have a big following doesn't mean they're going to share it. Like maybe they share, maybe they don't. And just because they have a big following, it doesn't mean that following is aligned with what your conference is about. So like, this is a podcast conference. So it's like you're a big time podcaster to dentists. Cool. But like your 10,000 dentists that are following you are not going to care about the podcasting conference. Right.
Yeah,
so
I
like,
agree.
it's not gonna like it's also not fair in the sense of like your niche versus somebody else's niche. Maybe there's one or two people that will be like, oh yeah, I want to come to that, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, I don't think it's a deal breaker. I'll say that if they don't have any social media presence, that doesn't really bode well. But
do they have good content? They could
where's
have
the content?
Hang on a minute. If they've got good content, they would have a following. So I agree with Jennifer on that.
I don't know about that. I think I do pretty good YouTube videos, but my YouTube, subscribers is only like 340.
Yeah,
I don't think
those are real followers. So, and I think you made a great point, Joe, that because I have found that when I've booked speakers with larger followings, with bigger resumes, with more of a name behind them, I actually get the least from them in value.
Mm-hmm.
They promote the event the least amount. I don't get to leverage their robust audience because they're sort of too big to, do that.
Yep.
And they tend to show up right before they speak and they leave right after. So I, as a boutique sized conference, I actually don't seek out these big name people or these large audiences, but I do like something kind of, I hate to use this term, but sort of micro influencers, people with followings. They don't have to be huge, but they're loyal and they're engaged. So I'm looking for an engaged following, even if it's 100 people, but those 100 people I can see that they're engaged, they're real, they're not bot followers. That interests me. So it's not a deal breaker, but I do look at it.
Yeah, I look at it too. And I think what you said there, Jennifer, is right. There's a sweet spot in the middle where we're not talking about people that have got zero following. We're not talking about the really big speakers because they do not promote, but the people in the middle that have a clearly defined brand. They definitely have some sort of audience and they are highly engaged. Those people are fantastic. And I know going back a few years ago, I had a big name speaker reach out to me to speak at one of my events, and I turned him down, which he obviously wasn't expecting, and it hurt his ego. And he came back and said, I'll pay you whatever you want to be on your stage. And I still didn't take him because I knew what he was going to do was just come in, sell to all my people and walk out. And I want to protect my audience, and I didn't want to be a part of that.
You did the right thing, because that's one of my pet peeves is a speaker that gets up there and tries to sell. Even though we, like Joe and I both, we communicate with our speakers that that's no go. But I have to approve their slides and everything because they'll sneak it in. Those little sneaky snakes, they just can't help themselves.
Well, it is a little bit tricky because we do speaking gigs to get something back for our business, but it's just how are we doing that? Are you coming straight out and saying, hey, here's my thing, buy it, rush to the back of the room? Or are you saying, hey, I'd love to stay connected, join my Facebook group, there's a lot of value in there, blah blah blah. It's still selling, it's just in a different way. So I actually am a big believer that we do need to give our audience the next step, because as a speaker, if we've delivered value, then if we just walked away from the audience, we'd be letting them down because we're not giving them the opportunity to continue on and take the next step with us.
You're right. There is a healthy balance in there.
Yeah. Well, you don't want them to be hard selling. I mean, but there needs to be some kind of step to like, hey, you can let's keep in contact and let's build from here. Because there's going to be a certain amount of people that want more out of it. Not everybody will, but what's an extra like 20 seconds on a 30 minute talk, 20-minute talk?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the other point? Did you have any more points, Sam, that you had?
No, because because Jen took it beautifully. It was about making sure that you have your personal brand in check, make sure that your messaging is clear and on point, and make sure that when you reach out to people that you're very clear in, this is what I speak on, these are my topics, and this is how I can add value to your audience. So, being very clear on that.
Okay, I have a question for both of you, just an opinion. So, you know how speakers that are on the speaker circuit, many of them have a signature talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's well rehearsed, it's well practiced. And no matter where you see them, if you see them from one conference to another conference, you see the exact same talk.
Mm-hmm. The one where they've got the joke in exactly the same place, and you're like, it was funny the first time, but it's creepy the second time.
Right, the second time is just weird. So I saw a speaker that fell into this category, and the first time I saw her, I was, she's very impressive. She did her talk. It was I could tell it was extremely rehearsed. So because it was so rehearsed, it came across as a little authentic, but she did well. And then I was at another conference, same typical, similar audiences. It was women entrepreneurs. So I was at another conference with that type of audience in another state, and she's speaking again. And again, it's the exact same thing. And some of these people were also at that other conference because, we kind of go to these types of conferences. So what is your opinion? I see why a speaker will do that. But I also think as a speaker, you have to be careful not to suffer from overexposure and maybe have a few talks that you kind of rotate, maybe, quiet one and, make it dormant for a while. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Like you said, it's creepy the second time.
Yeah. I'll let you go first, Joe, because I've spoken a lot.
So,
Sorry,
there's a couple ways to look at that, right? So one would be like a musician that's playing the same set list every night, right? Because they only have one album. So like maybe there's like one song that they played differently that, from a song they wrote prior to the one album.
In the world.
Right? So, or a comedian, right? That's doing the same routine. But I think that says a lot for, like, if you're willing to go at the miles that it takes to like really rehearse it. So like I think of my good friend Dr. Jeff Barnes with his talk, The Wisdom of Walt, and like he had a park bench made for his talk. Like he brings the park bench out, he's all dressed up as if he's like an attendant at Disneyland, and he talks about Walt Disney and his the whole thing. And I've watched that talk grow over the last 5 years, like from like being somewhat rehearsed and like the slides were somewhat professional to like everything to the T. Like he's got people paying him to ship the bench and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, right. So because the bench is a big part. I mean, it's Walt has his own bench and it's part of the story and all that. But so I think if you're going through all that, like I would, if I was them, I would probably at least try, if I'm going to do one talk, I would have a few spots where I could either ad lib or have like 4 or 5 jokes that fit in that spot. So it's always at least a little different every time you see it. But that's just me. That's the DJ in me that, wants to make something different. Even if it's the same set that I would always play, like might be 4 or 5 songs, 6 songs that are different in different spots, or songs that are new songs that are being added all the time. So it's like like something that but something that you don't know, that makes you feel comfortable, but at the same time, like exploratory to be like open up and listen. Because in your case, Jen, I would think that would make you shut down. Like I know I would I would just get up and walk out, like, or open up my laptop and just start doing stuff. So like I already heard this. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that my take is similar to yours, Joe, in that one of my values is mastery, and probably because I've got a classical ballet background, we just practice the same thing over and over and over, and it's about mastery. I think the one piece that I don't like, and to me, I lose trust when speakers do this. They'll say something that's usually a joke. Hey, this happened to me the other day. But when you hear them 3 years later and they say exactly like this happened to me the other day, it's that piece that I don't like. So the key points, absolutely repeat that same key talk because you will get something different out of it every time. But it's the piece that I don't like when someone says, oh, yesterday. And I'm like, what? That exact same thing happened to you yesterday and 3 years ago?
Lie.
Like
That's a
straight
lie.
away. That's exactly right. So straight away in my head, I go, I don't trust you anymore. So I think that's the piece I don't like.
Yeah. Thumbs down on that.
Absolutely.
And that would be an easy thing to tweak and personalize to make it a little different.
Change your jokes or change your case studies or change this happened to me on the way to the conference. Like if it didn't happen, don't say it. But definitely I don't have a problem with someone, really getting that keynote and really polishing it and achieving mastery with it. I would rather see a polished speaker than someone that's never rehearsed and is just bumbling their way through, which I don't know about you two. I have also done, but it's not what I prefer to see.
Well, I would like to brag that I am not a gifted speaker, but in terms of inspiring people to go out and seek speaking gigs, the reason I do it when I do it is that even my mediocre talks, I've always gotten business after I've spoken. So, and I'm not blowing the room away. I assure you, I didn't get a standing ovation, nothing like that. But, I'm putting something out there. And the fact is most people don't have the guts to get in front of an audience. Public speaking is one of our greatest fears as a people. It's one of it's proven. It's one of our greatest fears is public speaking. Most people will avoid it at all costs. So even if you get up there and you're not super gifted, you can reap the benefits of that. And the more you do it, the better you get. It's definitely something to get that mastery, you have to practice.
Can I just add one thing in there? Because I did talk about the bumbling talk. And as you were speaking then, Jen, I thought actually, if I share this story, this might help someone. Always make sure that, and especially if you're a speaker, if you're nervous about speaking, which I thought it would be easier to die than to speak. Thank goodness I've gotten over that. But that was me 10 years ago. I'd rather die than speak. And one of my very first talks that I was hired for was in a corporate office up on the 42nd floor to a corporate group of area managers for a large bank. I got paid for it. I thought this is the best thing ever. This is flashy, the marble floors. I'm like, oh, I've made it. This is so good. And what happened was half an hour in, all of these men in their fancy suits and shiny shoes started leaning back in their seats and crossing their arms. They weren't open to what I was talking about. I started bumbling because I started to feel really uncomfortable. Yeah. So my tip about this is make sure that you're in front of the target market that you want to spend the time with. So don't put yourself in situations where people aren't going to be open or receptive to your talk because it'll make you extremely nervous, and it will that set me back for a good couple of yees. Like it really put, I felt really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You got to set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So I told Melissa like a couple of years ago, I was like, I am nervous to go and talk because one of the things that's different, and I know I've told you this, Sam, from DJing, like DJing to me is great because I can read a room, I can change the music, I can change the vibe, I can change, people's faces and emotions and move, all these pieces around just by picking the right music and all that. Versus like going in with the talk, like my slides are already set. So like my slides aren't hitting, my jokes aren't hitting, and things aren't like going right out of the gate. Like it's like you just said, Sam, like you're just going to start to bumble because you're going to start like thinking in different directions and it's not one choice. It's like, do I go 3 or 4 or 5 different choices? And it's just like, this is what I have. Like, this is what I can't change the slides on the fly here. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so that's why maybe sometimes it's better to have less slides or slides that are more open-ended, so that you can fill in the blanks and build that story without having to, and change the story or use a different example or something like that without having to like, well, the picture I have is a picture of a chicken, and like you guys clearly are all like PETA, friends of PETA, so it's not
exactly. Yeah.
You know what I hate that happens when I speak, and it happens every single time, and I can't help it, and it's so embarrassing. But whenever I speak, my legs shake, like they tremble, because like there's just like that adrenaline, and even when I'm not like crippled, like my nervousness is not crippling me, I can still string some sentences together. I can't keep my leg from shaking, and there are times when I know it's visible, and I don't like that people can see that, because I'm thinking, I'm making them uncomfortable if they think that I'm uncomfortable. So I don't know. I've never found any tips to keep like that specific like physical reaction from happening, but it's a little embarrassing. I don't like it.
I mean, walking around is that
like,
gotta be
like pacing, if that's
yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do like the I remember one of my teachers back in high school was talking about like politicians talking on TV, and like every 20 seconds their hands went up. So like, and then, like her husband, she was like, my husband was sitting there and counting 1, 2, 3, 19, 20. Oh, there goes the hands again. Like it's like a tick. Like they can't help it, or they're just like, I need to make sure I move my hands to make me seem more approachable or likable or something.
I think there's nothing wrong with being nervous. And in actual fact, I know that from my dance background, we always knew that it was bad luck to not be nervous. I remember the one and only time I wasn't nervous when I went on stage. I just was in this comfortable place and just didn't bring it. So being nervous is normal. And I know I was reading one of Tony Robbins' books, I can't remember which one, where he was saying he still gets nervous before he goes on stage. And I'm like, if Tony Robbins can get nervous, so can I.
I think you're right. There is a healthy degree of nervousness. Like there is a degree of nervousness where I'm like, this is good nervous. This is like, I'm ready to go. Like I'm amped. I'm, let's do this kind of nervousness, where it's just kind of like your energy is like vibrating a little higher than normal. I know that sounds kind of woo woo, but I think people get that. But then there's that crippling nervousness, which is that's a whole different level, where you're like gonna, you feel like you're gonna throw up.
Well, what's the word? Physiologically.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like physiologically, that fear and excitement is exactly the same. So it's just about flicking that in your head and saying, hang on a minute, I'm not nervous, I'm so excited. So, it's about being able to control your emotions.
Yeah, definitely. I would also say that if you're not nervous, then you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough, because you're just like going through like you just like, I know this talk so well, like I could just deliver it in my sleep, and that's okay. And I also think there's something to be said for like overcompensating, because like you're the bigger the audience, the bigger your hand motions are supposed to be, and the bigger you're supposed to pace, and everything needs to be bigger because the stage is bigger. But there's also like knowing the type of like crowd that you're going out to, knowing the situation, knowing who spoke before you, if you can pull from that, seeing how the audience reacts to that. Like there's so many things that you can do to like get more comfortable with the fact that like I'm about to go out and talk to all these people, and they want, for the most part they want to hear you, because if they didn't, they would just like walk out of the room, right? Like
absolutely. And not only do they want to hear you, but they also are rooting for you. Like nobody wants you to get up there and fail. I mean, one thing that I do is I sort of scan and look for the friendly faces, because they're always there. They're always like people that are smiling, like and making eye contact with you. And for some reason, like they're like my anchors. And I'll talk to those 2 or 3 people that are really, I think, really trying to communicate a positive message to me. And I try to be that person in the audience for people too, because I so appreciate it when somebody makes eye contact. They're not looking at their phone. They're not looking bored. They don't give that body language that you experienced at that one event, Sam. Like I really appreciate when people do that. And So I try to do that for other speakers as well, because why not? Like,
Yeah.
we don't want
Absolutely.
each
Like
other
get
to
the
fail.
claps.
Exactly.
clap
Get
it
the
loud.
energy back. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, totally.
But you don't. But the other thing is, it's hard to sometimes assume that just because somebody folds their arms and sits back doesn't mean that they're not listening and not taking it in. Everybody has their own way of expressing. Some people like lean in, and some people like lean back. Some people, will sit there and like flick a pen around in their fingers, like. Some people will listen and they'll still be on their phone. Like you don't know that they're listening, but they, it's hard to tell sometimes. But
it is.
But again, that goes back to like, is there 1,000 people in the room and like a handful of those people are doing it versus like, is there 10 people in the room and every single person is doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I think that's a great point, Joe. Don't assume the worst, because in the days of social media, a lot of people are tweeting quotables from speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll be looking down at their phone and sharing the wisdom that you're putting out there on social media. But it might look like you said, it might look like they're checked out of your talk, but they're actually really engaged. It just maybe obvious.
Totally.
So that's all good. I want to congratulate Lou. He let us know that he is going to be speaking at a national gathering of campus presidents next week, right before PodFest. Lou, that's amazing.
Done, Lou. That's
campus
awesome.
presidents. That's pretty big. I mean,
that's
campus
awesome.
presidents are a big deal.
Yeah. So for us to round out this topic, guys, I'd love
we got other segments to get to.
Absolutely, and this episode is about getting more speaking gigs from the perspective of a conference organizer. Maybe you can help people to really understand what is it that you're looking for, so that people can really make sure they're putting their best foot forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Joe. You want to start?
What can they do to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward?
Yeah. So if I want to come and speak at independent podcast conference, what can I do to make sure that you go, wow, I have to have Sam speaking at my conference?
Answer all the questions properly. Don't put down topic of talk, the name of my podcast. Don't include a selfie or a picture of you wearing a mask in your in your submission form. Be somewhat responsive to emails. Be somewhat actually open the emails if I'm sending it to you. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people that just never got back to me. So you understand like I said, what you're getting into. Like so many times the people will be like, well, if I'm going to be a spotlight speaker and only get like a 60% discount, well, then I'm not interested in coming. And it's like, oh, okay. Like there's plenty of other people behind you. Mm-hmm. It's not the other, just, communicate back with me and let me know so I can make it, make the adjustments that I need to make. But, I would say, putting your best foot forward. If it's calling for one topic per submission, do one topic per submission. Don't try to put in 3 of them and then make me look stupid later when I like, okay, that looks good, but I didn't realize that like there was no commas in that, submit that area of submission. So then I post it and I'm like, well, which one was it? I don't know. Like I didn't even realize it was 3. I just read the first one and like, okay, yes. So it was all my fault, but like one topic, and I think also, don't be afraid to submit the things that are outside the box. I got to speak at the United Nations on podcasting at a word camp, WordCamp New York. So, don't be afraid to submit outside the box because everybody else might be submitting something that's the same as everybody else. Mm-hmm. So, think outside the box and then, be ready to deliver, when it comes time to actually show up and do it and don't bounce, try to be a good member of the community, the best that you can. Not everybody can show up for 3 days straight and all that. Like with 2 little ones, I totally get it, but, do the best that you can for that.
Yeah. I look for fresh voices, fresh perspectives, people that have some experiences that might be a little different. With a smaller conference, I feel like we can take some risks on people. I still look for that consistent branding on all the platforms and professionalism. I definitely look for that. But the only thing else I'd say is that, research the events. Like Joe touched on this a little bit, but I can't tell you how many emails I get going, oh, I heard about DC PodFest. How do you be a speaker? And I'm like, well, if you went to dcpodcast.com, there's a speaker application right there. It's like you're not even willing to do that. And so that's just irritating. And then the other thing I'd say is that it's not just a one and done. Like, it's not just speaking for 30 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is. Think of it as a long-term relationship, because conference organizers know other conference organizers. Joe and I know each other. We know Chris Krimitsos. We know Jared Easley. I know other people who produce events unrelated to podcasting. When you are a speaker and you show up professionally and you are a team player, like in other words, like you promote, you show up on time, you stay, you post promote, you give us a testimonial, you do all of these things that make us want to work with you. We're going to think of you for the next conference. We're going to write you a testimonial. We're going to refer you to other conference organizers. We're going to think of you when we have other opportunities arise. So you have to think of it as a long-term relationship and put your all into it, even if you're not getting paid, even if it's a small conference or an event. So that's what I look for. I look for people that are really invested in the experience.
100%.
Yeah.
Great tips.
Okay. That's it for that topic, I think.
Yes, I think we can move on to the next segment briefly here.
Let's do it.
We're going to talk about Airbnb. We talked about Airbnb a few weeks ago versus Marriott, but apparently Airbnb versus the bros throwing bro bashes at their houses, which apparently they're trying to stop. So I'm going to share.
To stop it. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I saw in this article that we're talking about, there was actually a shooting at one of these big parties, and that's why they're trying to stop it. And I'm sure that also homeowners that live next door to an Airbnb don't really want to be next to an Airbnb that's having constant parties. So,
So Airbnb is pushing its hosts to install smart party sensors to stop big bashes once and for all. I was interested in this article in Business Insider for several reasons. One, the technology I think is fascinating because these party sensors actually sense like humidity, like coming off of like body sweat and noise. I'm also interested in it because we brought up this topic last week. There's also some privacy concerns because there have been some accusations that Airbnb hosts are, installing surveillance systems and actually spying on their guests because of these experiences, these bad experiences where there's been property damage. The instance that Sam mentioned where there was a shooting, I think 5 people were killed. I mean, this is not a 5 party goers were killed in a shootout that was at a California Airbnb back in October. So we're not talking, just a stain on the carpet or a nick on your furniture. I mean, this is major damage, and rising to criminal behavior. But okay. And I also have my third interest in it is who's making money on these party sensors. Is this Airbnb does not make the party sensors, but they do have the potential to move a lot of them through their Airbnb properties. So I'm assuming they're getting a kickback. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but maybe we should be transparent about that, Airbnb. How do you guys feel about this?
Better than a camera.
I agree. It's better than a camera.
I read this through the eyes of a property owner.
Yes.
If I own a property and that's the major financial investment for my future, I don't want it ruined. So I looked at this and went, big tick from me.
Yeah.
So it's coolish. It's coolish, not foolish.
I think I'm voting coolish.
I think as long as it's not like wiretapping the room and it's going by like the like you said, the humidity and the volume level of it. Yeah, I think I think that's more than fair.
Are they listening to your conversations, or is it just a decibel reader?
I'm thinking it's a decibel reader because I know they're
reader.
not crazy about the whole camera thing, but
You know what? This is why we can't have nice things, folks. Because this is exactly why, we deserve this. We deserve these devices. I think if Airbnb is going to have a long-term future, I think this type of technology is going to be needed.
100%.
And
Mary,
no,
you go, Joe.
I was going to say, Eric Hunley, what's up, Eric? Says
Hey,
there's
Eric.
always a concern about who are the actors in this. Hotels have to be very satisfied with the Airbnb black eyes. Probably. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
I would think so.
Mary Sue says she wants one as a parrot when she's out of town. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
You can move like a cheap, like $100, like boop. I put it up in like the living room or something.
Yeah, I bet my parents wish they had have had one back in the day because I was a naughty teenager.
I just wonder how sensitive they are. Like if you turn on the jacuzzi or you have a hot bath, is it going to be sending off this sensor and there's going to be the Airbnb police showing up?
It actually doesn't. I saw this actually quite a few months ago in a home renovation episode that was done in Palm Springs. And because this particular house had a lot of expensive furniture in it, it was a retro house, they actually installed these, and it's not going to be set off just by normal music or just a family. But as soon as it reaches a certain decibel level, which isn't possible when it's just a few people around, it won't go off. So I'd already seen this, and I think it's a fantastic idea.
I agree, Sam. If I was a property owner, I would be like, take my money. How many, do I need one per room? How many do I need? Let's get this done. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, technology's cool, guys. Technology's so cool.
It is, and it can be, it protects the privacy of the people staying there. So I'm all for that. So who wants to kick off Grind My Gears this week?
I'm gonna be quiet. I don't know if we have time for all three of us have one.
I do have one this week, I think, for the first time in quite a few episodes. And I've chosen this one because it matches today's topic perfectly well. And this one really grinds my gears. And I promise I won't get all crazy. And I want to present this as a learning opportunity for our listeners and our viewers so that they don't do this. But I absolutely get so hot under the collar when people reach out to be on my podcast and it's clear they haven't researched my show, researched my audience, listened to my show. I'm not talking about subscribing and listening to, 10 episodes end to end, but at least just tuning in and listening to the vibe of the show and then reaching out in a personal way. Like, I know a lot of podcast hosts have, a lot of trouble getting guests. I have the opposite problem. Like, I'm sending out daily emails saying, I'm sorry, I can't take you. But it would just make it so much easier if you just did a bit of research. In other ways, it makes it so easy for me to say no thanks because I can see that they're not a fit because they just haven't researched. So people, do your research before you ask for an opportunity, please. Pretty please.
Yeah. Yes.
The guy who invented copy and paste recently died, and I'm sad about that.
Yeah.
But these people are abusing his invention.
Absolutely.
I don't think it was meant for this.
I've had emails that say, "Hi, Angela." I've had things, "Dear podcast host." I mean, I've had it all, man.
Who's Angela?
Hashtag, who's Angela?
Who's Angela?
Oh, God.
I'm so mad. Okay. Everybody calm down. Okay.
Here you go. Hey, Joe, I came across your podcast title and instantly loved it. I like the style of conversations, the questions asked, and the kind of experts you bring on the show. Instant subscriber here. I also know a lot of people that would love to listen to your show.
A lot, you said.
I mean, and it goes on from there, but like,
yeah.
But it's just hilarious to see like podcast title.
Yep. Just know.
Yeah. Eric knows what we're talking about.
Eric knows what we're talking
about. Exactly.
Your podcast.
Endless stream of people. So that's a thing. All right, so then we'll just move on to the one cool thing. I mean, I got a really cool thing.
Oh, you go
well,
then, Joe.
Yeah,
We
go,
can't
Joe.
wait.
No,
Yeah, you always have the cool things.
I do have the cool thing. So for all those that know me know that I've been for the last 4 years have been driving my Audi S3, and I absolutely love and adore the car, but I didn't love and adore it enough to pass up on a Chevy Bolt, a 2020 Chevy Bolt. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's an electric vehicle, 260-mile range, and basically it's awesome. Like, yeah, it's not the Audi that I love, but in a lot of ways it's a lot better than the Audi that I love. So traded it in, and I've been absolutely like enthralled with the idea that like I don't have to go to a gas station anymore.
That's cool.
Oh, that's the coolest bit.
Or a petrol station. Is that a petrol station?
It is a petrol station.
Joe, can I just take a moment to thank our audience for the podcast money that has allowed you to purchase a 2020 car this year? Thank you all who are making that car payment possible. We appreciate your financial support. And Joe's carbon footprint is shrinking before your eyes.
Absolutely.
A little bit.
Congratulations on your new family member, Joe.
Thank you. Ava named. Well, I named it, and Ava blessed it. Eevee is the name, like the Pokemon, because it's it's Eevee, electric vehicle.
Oh, you get it.
But yeah, so it's really like it's so cool, so fast too. Like it's not as fast as a Tesla. I also would like to thank not to just thank the people that have been financially backing this show. I have to thank GM for the generous instant rebate that they gave of $8,500. The state of New Jersey for $5,000 in cash and 0% sales tax, and the federal credit of $1,875. So like, thank you, because without all of you, there is no me getting this car and shrinking.
Oh my goodness! So GM is not my friend, because Down Under, they just announced last week that they are not supplying our country with Holdens anymore. So that's probably why you've got your benefit, because it's all been cut down here.
Jeez.
Very sad time down here for Australians.
That is sad. The fire's still going on. As a quick update down there. We don't hear about it anymore. It's all coronavirus.
No, pretty much out. Yeah, it's all good. I mean, lots of mop up, but yeah.
That is good to hear.
I do not have a new car. I'm just banking my riches, saving up for an island.
That's
as long as we can come and record from the island, we're okay. We're okay with that, aren't we, Joe?
Absolutely. That's the future. The future is island.
Yeah.
Excellent. Love it. What's your one cool thing, Jen?
Do I have time? I don't know.
We got a few minutes. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cool. I just found it today. Go to agent.growthtools.com. It's related to our topic. So far, I'm happy with it. What it does is it allows you to search for conferences and events where you might be able to find speaking opportunities. And you can search by geographical area, or internationally or nationally, and also by topic. So our audience type, I guess I should say by audience type. And it lists them in a nice list, and it gives you a button for details, and you can save any conferences that you're interested in into a list so that you can refer back. Anyway, it's I played around with it today to make sure that the information, the data that was populating was current, and it is, and it appears to be accurate. It was free. You do have to sign up for an account, but it didn't cost me anything. So check it out. It's called Agent, but the site is agent.growthtools.com.
Yeah, in partnership with Speaker Lab, which is this guy right here, Grant Baldwin, who I've had on my show and are friends with on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Cool guy.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy.
That's my cool
Really
thing.
Yeah, that is super cool. That's a cool
Small
one.
world.
So mine's going to be really, really fast, because it is not cool like a car. It is not cool like that, but it is useful. So I'll be like the mum today and go, well, this is useful. It's HelloSign. It's hellosign.com. It's to be able to send forms through for signing with other people. It's not new. but I love this. I just took on a new staff member this morning, so it meant that I could just send her independent contractor agreement, and you just drag in where you want to put the signatures, where you want people to initial and date. What's awesome about it is it emails directly to them. You get an email notification when they open it. You get another email notification when they sign it. And then you can just get the PDF and, download up and put it into Google Drive, whatever. So it's not cool, but it is a super awesome tool to use in your business. I thoroughly recommend it. You can do 3 free documents per month. And if you do more than 3 per month, then it's not very much to sign up for. But it's great for all sorts of documents.
Are you kidding me? That's totally cool.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Jen.
Totally cool. It's the coolest.
Well, it'd be really cool if they wanted to go over to their email at questions@businessgeekspodcast.com and reach out to us about sponsoring the show. That'd be even cooler.
What, you need another car? You need another car, Joe?
Well, I got a minivan that's not electric. So I need an electric.
Well, now you're just being greedy, and I think our audience is not going to like that. Don't be greedy, Joe.
I'm not
come on.
being
We do want
greedy.
this island. I
Yeah,
really
right?
want the
You
island.
just want an island.
I just want the island.
I just want to shrink my carbon footprint. That's all. I'm looking
Well, I don't know. How are yachts on carbon footprints? Because you got to take that to the island.
They are not.
I'm dreaming big. That's what we do on Business Geeks. We dream big.
Absolutely.
We do, and we also dream
Ross.
about ending this show. And what up, Ross? Thank you
It
for
went by so fast. It went by so fast.
It does go by too fast. But if you want to get more Business Geeks, you can go check out our previous episodes over at businessgeekspodcast.com, or you can come back next Tuesday. Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. At Eastern at where are we at? Facebook.com/Business Geeks Podcast to watch live, interact in the chat like we got Ross Brand doing right now, and Eric Hunley, and Brent Basham, and Mary Sue, and Sharon Folk, and Lou Hastings, and any other names.
Did you say Mary Sue?
I did. I said Mary Sue.
Okay.
She gets two. And Nick G over there.
Lots of cool people. Lots of
So
cool
many
people.
cool people. They're you know what? You're all invited to the island.
Yeah.
Heard it here first.
Early
Podcast
adopters.
Island.
Early adopters. I love it.
We're gonna reward your early loyalty.
When is Epstein's Island going up for sale? Because I'm sure that'll go pretty cheap.
Oh, I don't want that nasty, dirty.
I was
island.
going to say, I don't want that island.
You can
That's
bulldoze
my
it.
10-foot pole.
Bulldoze it. You won't even know. You won't even
Can you
know.
bulldoze an island? I don't know.
You can bulldoze the buildings on the island, the
there's-
creepy buildings.
No, we do
I don't-
not want
There's
that
way
island.
too much DNA on that island. No, thank you.
Stop.
All right. Well, with that said, I hope everybody has an amazing week. And we have to figure out what our topic for next week is, but we will do that right after I hit the stop button. Everybody, take care.
Yeah, bye.